Salutations and shit, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Travel and Shit, where I, your host, D. Carey, have an experiential conversation about the nuanced ways that travel intersects with regular life. I'm very excited about this episode. I had a really good time putting this together, so I hope you enjoy it with me. So, do you have a comfort show? Like, what was your most recent television rewatch, right? I love a rewatch. I will rewatch a show that I loved in a heartbeat. However, I don't feel compelled to do the same with a travel destination. So, let's start with the television part because I can make anything a travel topic. And I was watching Dexter, I was inspired, and whole episode came together. So again, starting with the travel aspect, the comfort show, right? This is the show that you will start from the top, season one, episode one, and then run through, even though you've seen all the episodes, or even if you've, missed a few, you're familiar with the show, right? Um, but you don't mind falling asleep on the show, or you'll have it as, say, background noise, just having it on just to have on, right? So there's noise and stuff. For me personally, there are different levels, and it depends on the show and it depends on the day. I I'm generally in bed, or at least ready for bed, by like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So depending on what time of the day it is, how I'm feeling, whether or not it's a day that I have a ton of energy and feel like I can stay awake till 10, 11 o'clock, that's going to depend. That's going to dictate what show we put on. Currently, we've got Will and Grace and Dexter as our comfort shows. Um, on a day where I know I'm about to fall asleep, throw on Will and Grace. I don't care if I fall asleep on an episode of Will and Grace. If it's a good one, maybe you'll tell me and we'll rerun it, and it is what it is. But Dexter, I save for when I'm awake and ready to pay attention to. And I've watched Dexter. He's never seen Dexter. It's new to him, old to me, but I basically have the memory of a goldfish. I couldn't tell you much of shit. I remember certain things. I know Deb is my favorite character because of the character development, where she starts and where she ends. Baby, I remember being blown the fuck away about the writing for her. Um, but I say all that to say, some things matter, right? Am I awake? Am I not? Am I willing to pay attention? Am I not? Also, it's not necessarily for me knowing how the show ends. It's just that there is an ending. I hate that streaming services and platforms are able to just cancel and completely remove shit off of their platforms whenever the fuck they feel like it. I do not like the idea of getting into a new show to not know if there is going to be a closing to the show. Is there going to be an end? Do the characters get to sign off? Do we see how everything unravels and how things unfold? So, getting into new shows can be a bit frustrating because you never fucking know. Look at Lovecraft. You loved it. We were there, tuned in. The people loved it, spoke highly about it, and then they just shut shit down. So that's another reason why I personally enjoy rewatching shows, because I know we're going to get an ending for the most part, right? What else did I have here? So I did a little Google as to why people do rewatches, and I came across a Psychology Today article written by Jennifer Fayard. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Miss PhD. Put some respect on that. And there are multiple reasons listed as to why people rewatch, but one really fun fact that popped up was the mere exposure effect. And so I'll read to you from the article what she said. That is, quote, basically, and I've edited it a bit to make it make more sense. But basically, the more times we have been exposed to something, the more we tend to like it later on. This happens because experiencing something previously increases the ease with which we can process information in subsequent experiences. When something is easy to process, it tends to make us feel positive emotions, which in turn makes us like the object more. So, yes, I get it. I basically agree. But there's like this brain itch as to why I don't like repeat destinations. Like, I don't like repeating destinations. And so I kept like digging at, like, it kept just crossing my mind. It's just like, yeah, okay, I get why I'm rewatching shows the same way, but why doesn't that apply the same to travel? Why don't I like revisiting a destination? And so for me, I think that repeat destinations are restrictive and unappealing because travel is so much more than the destination. And I have been saying this now for 6 years, and I really mean that shit. And in compliance with that, if you will, outside of the destination, what actually is in alignment with the mere exposure effect is that it's the reward. It is the reward in travel. It is sating my curiosity about the rest of the world. It's fucking FOMO. Like, I want to know what it's like in other places. I am truly a curious fucking person. I like new shit. I like new shit. And if I'm spending money on something, and if I'm spending money on something being a new thing, then I'm gonna make sure that I'm actually new. Right. So I enjoy sitting on my couch with my partner. You know, and he have built a beautiful home together, and I can legit run away from life's problems into his arms. I am very blessed and fortunate to be able to say that I find respite in my partner. So, like, we can just chill on the couch and binge some shit on the TV, and I really feel at ease. I'm not a crowds kind of girl, so like going to parties and being around a bunch of people, that's not what refreshes or re-energizes me. It's being inside, it's being either, with my partner or just chilling by myself. So, if I'm going to pay for a change, like, I could run away from my problems for free at home. I don't want to just pay to then just sit on a couch someplace like that. Um, that doesn't do it for me. If I'm going to pay for something, I'm going to pay for the change of scenery, then I'm going to get a change of scenery. If I wanted to see the same thing, like if I wanted to repeat, like in terms of like repeating destinations, like some people will go to the same resort over and over and over again. That is not appealing to me. If I wanted that familiarity, I would stay the fuck home. Like that just doesn't fucking connect for me. Now, seeing my family, right? That is the reward. Like, family and curiosity, those are the two rewards in travel for me. I'm going to travel to see my curiosities met, and then I'm also going to travel to see my family. I love my cousins. I take being a cousin very seriously. Um, I love seeing my family in other places of the world. And so travel is a necessity in having that happen. And so, like, that is the reward in those repeat destinations. And the rules don't apply for Montreal. I just love Montreal. Something about it calls to my spirit. And for me, that is the fulfilling thing. I've never stayed in the same place twice. We've always stayed in different locations in Montreal. Now, we do return to the general area of La Fontaine Park just because so far I absolutely love that fucking park. And then also, I got to be able to walk to Le Virunga. That's how good the food there is, that I build my travel around being able to visit the restaurant. And then also, I don't think I've ever had a bad meal in Montreal, y'all. Like, I fucking love it. So for me, the rules don't apply to Montreal. That is the one repeat destination I will go to, but I make it different every time I go. We don't do the same things other than Le Virunga. And Pub Jelly at this point. Pub Jelly is added to the rotation. 5 stars there also. But I absolutely and truly know that it is way more than the destination to me. And one of, not one of, but also in line with the mere exposure effect is the fact that so much of vacation travel is actually repetitive, right? So it makes sense that the more you travel, the more you enjoy it. And the more I travel, the more I enjoy it. Many things that people find as barriers to travel aren't barriers to me because they are repeat occurrences for me, right? Airports, hearing different languages, public transportation, like those are things that I do in my normal life. Also, being around languages that I don't speak. I am born and bred New Yorker, so I'm used to hearing people speak different languages. I'm used to seeing, signage on certain stores in different languages. So that isn't uncomfortable or uncommon for me. We live in the good Lord's 2024. There is technology. Google Translate will translate the languages for you. Pro tip: if you're going someplace where you don't speak the language, make sure that you download the language that you will need to translate from or to. Um, before you leave, like while you have like steady internet, so that you don't need internet when you land, if you will, to use Google Translate. And you can also use the Google to, it'll translate the fucking photos. So like it doesn't necessarily need to be just Google Translate putting in the words. You can take a picture of signage and it will translate the photo for you. But yeah, languages, that's fine. Also, I generally reuse the same apps. I always want to call it Viator. I've been calling it Viator for probably 10, 15 years now, but Viator, Airbnb, and I feel like Expedia are the three apps that I have been using um, even before 2017, but especially since 2017. And I tend to book my excursions through there. So I know that they are going to be provided in English. So, and then also sometimes you have to specifically make sure that it's done in English. There have been times when the English is broken, or um, I can only really think of one experience where I booked it and it was supposed to be done completely in English, but then it turned out that it wasn't done in as much English. But that was because of a situation specific to that experience where we had to separate the hosts. And of course, the host that spoke better English ended up going off with another couple of people on the trip. But I digress. I generally book the excursion in English. So I know that and then also a lot of the excursions that I will book will be like a day tour or something that includes transportation. So that also makes it another layer of ease for me that I am used to doing. And it is something that I am familiar with because I use those same apps. Also, for the large part of my travels, I will visit major cities and I will go to locations that are generally places where the world expects tourists to show up to. So, beauty in being an American is that a lot of shit will be in English, or there will be English speakers present, so that those experiences aren't very difficult for me. So that, language isn't I don't find it a big barrier. It is something that I'm used to navigating through. Another part is I am familiar with airports at this point. Some people hate airports. I hate airports, don't get me wrong, but I don't hate airports because it's the airport. I hate airports because of the people. The people is what makes airports complicated. The showing up, I also have pre-check and global entry. So, and shout out to Amex for paying for that. I just renewed my global entry. I think let's just say I submitted it on December. It wasn't December 13th, but let's say like December 8th, I submitted it. I had my shit by the 12th. Because it was a renewal, I didn't have a conditional renewal. I didn't have to wait stages for it. I didn't need to do another interview. My shit was approved within maybe like less than a week. So don't forget. And mind you, it expired, I think, almost a year ago at this point. My global entry expired, I want to say, either in 23 or 24, or at least August of 2024 I don't remember, but the shit was expired. So I didn't have, like, because you can renew, I want to say, a year from expiration. and continue to use it but it doesn't matter because the renewal happened fast. That's what I'm saying. But I have those systems in place, so it makes navigating airports a little bit easier. But not all airports have a global entry, a pre-check line. I know some smaller cities just it's not an option, or during certain hours of travel, that line isn't open. Certain terminals don't have it. Things change, but for the most part, the process is exactly the fucking same. You take your shit off, or you don't. You put it in the bucket. Keep your eyes on your shit. Goes to get scanned. Sometimes somebody will stop it. Sometimes they won't. I'm a pretty straightforward packer. I know how to pack my shit. I I'm a New also another thing. I'm from New York. This is the land of keeping your head on a fucking swivel. I'm also from a community where that matters. Because I know not everybody from New York has that capability. And it's one of the things that is a personal fucking ick. I hate seeing people being oblivious to the shit that is happening around them, because to me, that puts me in danger. Because that is how, and that's another reason why I don't like being in crowds. Yes, this is a rabbit hole, a little bit of a segue, but that is the reason why I don't like being in crowds, because I personally feel like my personal safety is now in the hands of every other idiot in the room. God forbid something goes wrong, me getting out is going to be hindered by people who don't know where the exits are, or who aren't paying attention to what is going on and are just literally in the fucking way. So those are things that, particularly about the airport and in public transit systems, which I'm going to get to next, really piss me off. But I'm generally paying attention. So I understand the flow of things, where my things need to be, where they are at all times, and pick it up and you go. I don't wait at the fucking mouth of the gate while they're boarding other groups. That's fucking dumb. Sit down, wait for your call. Like, the seat is assigned. I don't fly Southwest. So there is no first come, first serve shit. I don't believe in that. My ticket has my seat. I know where the fuck I'm at. The only issue I could see being is overhead storage, but knock wood, so far that hasn't been a fucking issue. Like, if everybody would like keep jackets, hats, magazines, and stupid shit, little bags that you can put under your seat out of the overhead area, we wouldn't have these problems. Things would be a lot more smooth, but I digress. Another thing that people find as a barrier when they're traveling that is familiar to me, so it is something that I welcome while traveling, is public transit. I ride the subway in New York. It's trash. Yes, it is. It's absolutely disgusting and not fun at all. However, and I don't even like navigating new like lines. Like, I know the lines that I ride. I know my trains. I know my stops. When we diverge from there, that's when shit gets a little, ooh, but I know how to figure it out. You feel me? And so I feel a level of, I won't necessarily say comfort, but I won't say ease. I'd say more comfort than ease. I feel a level of comfort in navigating transit systems in other places. Not all American or US transit systems are the same. I've navigated different transit systems in different states. And the same with other places in the world. However, there's a general flow to how they work, and finding help in them, while like the actual location is different, but they kind of have like the same tells in terms of, being able to ascertain the information that you're looking for. So I am not necessarily uncomfortable with many of the barriers to travel that people find in a macro sense, right? In a macro sense, because these are things that I deal with and am quite familiar because of the repetition with which they occur in my normal life. And moving on to like reconnect this back to television again, let's go a bit more micro, right? There are different forms of revisiting. Revisiting presents itself in different ways. The same way there are different aspects of rewatching or revisiting a show, there are different ways to revisit a destination. So, you can revisit a destination from childhood in the same way, or akin, if you will, to how well a show has aged, right? So, some things that I notice during a rewatch are if the jokes hit the same or if the subject matter has aged well. For example, Will and Grace, still fucking funny. We completed season 1, the jokes still hit. So far there's only been like maybe one topic that is like, ooh, probably can't say that anymore. But other than that, like shows like 227 still fucking slaps. 227 is one of love that shit. So fucking funny. Living Single also aged well. Like there are certain shows that stand the test of time. Um, However, sometimes in in my personal experience, revisiting a destination from childhood doesn't always hit the same. Brigantine, for example, an island not far from Atlantic City on the Jersey coast. Um, that hotel in particular did not age well. Baby, the room looked basically the same as it did in like 99, probably the last time. No, when did I turn? Right, 99, maybe 2000 and, okay, so maybe I think 2001 or 2002 was the last time that I visited Brigantine before I went back for my birthday, maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Ugh. Like the same art on the wall, same fucking fixtures from the bathroom on the wall. I feel like the beds were probably the same. I was so fucking disappointed. And it also was rough for me because it was the first time I had revisited since losing my grandfather. And that was a place that I always visited with him, my grandmother, and my mom. So, and my brother. So it was a family timeshare that I went back to. So, it had familial ties to it. And so that revisiting it as an adult, I did an episode about it. I'll drop that in the description box, but that carries its own kind of weight, right? So revisiting places also sometimes has you revisiting those emotions. It has you revisiting those experiences and brings up some things that you may not necessarily um, remember were a thing, or just, feelings that are a little bit easier to navigate during the, not the mundane, but the comings and goings of regular life. Grief shows itself differently. And so sometimes travel will put you in a situation where you get to experience grief in that realm as well. Um, Revisiting destinations in new life stages. You learn more in life and you understand some things just aren't acceptable, or they aren't the same priority for you, right? So there are certain like words that we know we don't use, like the R word. We don't call people retarded anymore. Like in school in the 90s, we threw it around left and right, but we grow up and we realize that that's not okay. We don't say that word anymore, right? Now that we have the language, we understand it as a society a little bit differently. So revisiting those topics and those conversations in media is different now. Stand up doesn't hit the same from the 80s as it does now, because certain things, even like in the 90s, it was, if you were to watch episodes of like Def Comedy Jam, like some of the shit we were laughing at in the 90s just don't hit the same anymore. It's not funny now because we fucking know better, right? Yeah. This was from the 90s. This was a bygone era. Shit just isn't the same anymore, right? Another show, Desperate Housewives. I tried to re-watch Desperate Housewives, couldn't do it. The way the women were written was very 2006, very 2007. It it turned me off maybe by I was so fucking pissed every episode. It was just like, why is this a topic? Why is this the central theme of this episode? I, didn't do it for me. I couldn't do it. And that was one of those huge, huge, big, mega hit shows. And I always said I would go back and watch it. I want to see what the excitement is. Let's watch this white lady slop. Girl, couldn't do it. I had to just stop because I'm like, why am I going to keep being pissed off watching television? Like, I'm choosing to piss myself off. Let's be real. I'm pissed off about too many other things in life to actively put myself in a position to be pissed. I don't have control out of a lot of things that annoy me. This, I do. Had to cut that shit off. Um, One thing that another show that I don't know if it would work now. I'm very curious to see how that would look, but I won't even call it a guilty pleasure because I ain't guilty about it. But Wife Swap, I fucking love the chaos of that show. Looking back on it, like it was very 2009, 2000. I think it started in 2006. I think I'm up to maybe like season 3. I jump around with Wife Swap. That's one of them shit you don't have to watch in order. But baby, the fashions. Ooh, I remember them outfits. I remember those eyebrows. I remember that makeup style, the hair. Just, I enjoy watching that for the nostalgia of the early aughts. But I don't know how that would work now. I often wonder, I wonder how many of those spouses cheated on their spouses living with somebody else for 2 weeks. For the most part, the husband and the wife, like that swap, end up hating each other for a good portion of the time. So maybe unlikely, but at the same time, like people are funny. So I don't know that that would necessarily fly the same. Curious, but don't know how that would work in today's landscape. What else did I have on here? Oh, some things just aren't the same priority anymore. I used to love solo travel, absolutely adored it. At a certain time in my life, I never thought that there wouldn't be I wouldn't feel compelled to solo travel. Now that I have a partner, I have no desire to travel by myself. I love the ease that comes with traveling with him. He does all of the heavy lifting. He lifts things up and puts things down. Like all I got to do is carry like the lighter of the backpacks. Like his backpack is always lighter. So I'll carry his bag and he'll take my bag. My bag rolls real easy. He has a duffel bag and God bless him. He is always, I don't care how long we're going, he can fit everything into that fucking duffel bag that he needs and have everything he needs. Me, on the other hand, I have to have that carry on, but I make it work. I get everything into that bag and he will take care of that for me if, shit is getting kind of crazy. I don't make him do like the 5 bag carry and I'm princessing around. I don't do that because I just think that's nasty work. But I love that he isn't directionally challenged. I'm always fucking lost. That man knows where we're going and I will follow him any day, any fucking day of the week, even a day not a part of the week. I will follow that man. He's going to know where we're going. I'm not. Um, I enjoy the ease and also the joy. Like when I get excited about something, I have the one person that I always want to tell about it right here, experiencing it with me. And that matters to me. That I enjoy. It feels good. Happy to have it. So like solo travel is no longer a priority. I loved it. It was so good to me. And I am so fortunate, grateful, and blessed to have had the life that I did because it allows me to more fully appreciate the life that I have now. I don't feel like I'm missing out because I've done the thing. I've gone to so many places and done so many things by myself that I feel like that bucket is full. Like I don't feel like I'm missing anything. It's kind of like when you do all your partying, you do all your hoeing, you do all of the fun shit in your 20s and your early 30s or whenever in life. And then when it comes time or when it comes the right time, the time you want to settle down, you don't feel like you're missing anything. I have fun. I've had a good fucking life. I was able to enjoy my single life. There were times when it got, a little sad girl. It didn't always have its perks, but I lived a full single life. So I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything being partnered. I enjoy it very much because of what I've been able to do single. I lived a full life. So for me, this is the next stage. This is the next era. And this is where my priorities lie. And I love it so much. Um, Let's see. Oh, and finally, revisiting the idea of going someplace that you never thought that you'd want to visit or you never thought that you wanted to see, like changing the idea of what is interesting to you. Television, let me tell you something. I am not really a reality TV girl. Ignore the fact that I was just telling y'all I love Wife Swap. But I don't really do reality TV too much. Like, I will let the people say something is like, whoa, you need to see this. This is so great. Like, I ended up watching, was it Love Island? No, it was Love is Blind. That episode with Clay, and I just kept hearing about it on Twitter. And at that point, it was like, let me check this out. And I watched it, enjoyed it. It was fun. Never watched another season. Don't need to watch another season. But there are some reality shows that I stumbled across and gave a shot thinking that it wouldn't really be up my alley, but something about it was interesting. Like, it piqued my curiosity. One of those shows is Face Off. It is about special effects makeup. I am not a makeup girl. I don't wear makeup, right? But I can appreciate the artistry in makeup, and I can especially appreciate the artistry in special effects makeup. Baby, that show is so fucking good. Watching these artists, these people come on and create, like, they are wildly creative because they're given like a theme, and from there they have to create a monster, or they have to create a world, they have to create a character using special effects makeup. A lot of times they're using materials that are new to them, or they're using styles that they're not familiar with. Absolutely love the show. Just watching people express creativity for me is what is very appealing in almost any medium. Because another show that I ended up watching was what's the show? I think it's like not a bake off, but I feel like there's a bake I don't know if it was a baking show that we watched and a season of, but like another similar episode, similar show is Drink Masters. I used to bartend, boyfriend used to bartend, so the not the nature, but the art of bartending isn't missed on us. We fucking get it, right? But I'm not a fucking mixologist. I appreciate a mixologist though, because I know that there is a fucking difference between a bartender and a mixologist. I'm a bartender. I can mix some shit up. But like the fun part of being a bartender for me was the being able to create or concoct something. I used to love just randomly picking bottles and just mixing some shit up based on knowing what the flavor profile of an alcohol was, mixing it with different mixers. I enjoyed doing that for myself. I also loved when somebody would come in, not have a drink in mind, and just be like, surprise me. I had questions that I would ask. It was basically three questions I would ask. I would get those answers and get to it. Always, always knocked it out the park. Always knocked it out the park. Tap on my shoulder, yay me. But this was also at a strip club. Like, I wasn't, again, not a mixologist. But still, that to say, I understand the difference and I appreciate the difference. So watching drink masters, watching mixologists in turn incorporate that creativity that I loved about mixing drinks into the art of being able to tell stories with what they would plate with their drinks and how they would present their drinks was fan fucking tastic. Absolutely loved that show. And the host was actually what was Tone something, I think. But the show was absolutely great. Loved it. Oh, and another example is international shows. I randomly started going through Netflix International and just looking up international shows. That was another episode. I'll drop those episodes in there because there was a Drink Masters themed episode, and there was a episode that I did about popular shows across the globe based on Netflix. So I'll put those in the description. But the Taylor, it's all won't watch something dubbed. I will watch it in its native language with subtitles. But the Taylor, so good. We keep saying we're going to go back and finish because I think there's at least 3 seasons now. We watched the first season, seated. It was so fucking good. So, so good. Going to get back to that. But the Taylor was one. And back to reality shows, there's this Brazilian show, Stranded with My Mother-in-Law. It was one of the top ranking shows because I wanted to try some reality shows around the world. And then I just wanted to try just international shows around the world. And those are 2 examples that I never really thought that I would be too much into, but had me hooked. Absolutely loved those. Another thing that I figured not really interested in, cruises. I've never been on a cruise. The curiosity aspect of a cruise intrigues me, but unfortunately now we're in the future of things, the 2024 of things. So it just gives real petri dish to me. And most people that I know that go on a cruise end up coming back sick. So that aspect of a cruise, still, I staunchly am not looking forward to and strongly stand behind. However, one of my cousins is getting married soon, and they're getting married on a cruise ship. And they love a fucking cruise. When I tell you my baby Trey, oh, I actually did a episode with my cousin Trey about the cousin that's getting married on the cruise, about hospitality. He used to work in, well, he still somewhat works in hospitality, but now he works for the airlines. He used to work for a hotel. And so we did another episode I'll drop in the description box, but they're getting married on a cruise. And what I will say, after listening to his itinerary, a cruise is perfect for countries that I don't necessarily feel compelled to spend more than a day or two at. I have no desire really to go to DR. Plenty of reasons why I can't see myself going to DR, but a DR stop on a cruise, baby, I will be on that beach. I can't necessarily see myself flying into an island where I would feel compelled to just stay on the resort. Or like, I'm sure Turks and Caicos has a beautiful culture and very interesting cultural points of interest to visit. However, I'm not necessarily compelled to visit Turks and Caicos the way I am compelled to maybe visit Venezuela. I am more curious about the history there than I necessarily am of Turks and Caicos. I feel like that would be a destination that is better suited for the beaches, and like destinations that are very well known for like their beaches or just the touristy excursions that are available to you the way a cruise ship would have available to you. Those are the destinations that are, yeah. So certain destinations, I feel like if I don't really see myself spending a week here and having a good time, oh, a cruise is perfect. Like, I could see getting behind this. So I don't know what my life will look like for the wedding. It's in 2026, but baby, I'm already planning to put that deposit on the room because that is a cruise that I am interested in going on because of the ports of call. And like, I don't necessarily have an interest in going to like the Bahamas. I feel like is on there. But I know I definitely, he loves snorkeling. I feel like Bahamas had his favorite like snorkeling beach. So he's always talked about going back there. And so I would love to experience that with him. And if we can do that on a cruise, which is the way he experienced it the last time, I'm all fucking for it. So there are certain destinations where if I just feel like I would just go and sit on the beach anyway, put me on a cruise to do that. I don't necessarily want to spend all this money to fly to a country to just spend it on the beach. Like I said earlier, if I'm going to just sit in one spot or kind of have the same scenery while I'm there, I might as well stay home, right? So, cruise, something that I am now revisiting the idea of, now that I've been presented with better options outside of the ones that I previously saw for myself. A destination that I initially had no real desire to visit, Paris. For me, Paris has always been like a stopover city. Like, if you ever, it's more of a layover option for me. And ding ding, finally, I am excited to go to Paris because it's going to be the way I saw it, actually. It's going to be a layover, but we've got a bookend layover. We're flying in and we're flying out of Paris come February. So at this point, there are certain things like the Louvre that I absolutely want to see. And I absolutely want to visit. I don't know. It's the triangle thing from, is it Angels and Demons, or the Tom, about to call him Tom Cruise, the Tom Hanks movies by the Dan on off based off of the Dan Brown books. I know Angels and Demons is one. I cannot remember what the other one is, but because it's Angels and Demons, I think is the second one, right? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. And I feel like I've mentioned it in a previous episode, but I want to go visit that location where it ends, the chalice, the thing, the big triangle was actually a pyramid. I want to see that because I read the book, watched the movie, enjoyed them both. Would like to visit that in person. So there are certain things that I want to visit in Paris, but I don't feel like drawn to the city for the same way I feel like people tend to romanticize Paris. There are things I want to see that are there, but the allure of Paris doesn't call to me the way I hear other people speak of it. So being that now I have the opportunity to go, my interest in those places has been piqued because now it is, I don't want to say easy, but it's at my disposal. So for me, that has traveled. That has changed. That's been one of the things that has shifted a bit because I have now revisited the conditions with which it is accessible to me. So again, I spend every week reminding you guys that travel is so much more than vacation. And life is so much fun when you look at it through a travel lens. It is a perspective shift. It is an opportunity to explore parts of you that don't get stretched in the comforts of home. And it is the ability to reignite the familiarity of certain things in a new. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. I would love to hear your feedback. Don't forget that I have a Substack that dives a little bit more into the background, often drops a couple of photos related to destinations that I have already done that I am referencing in an episode. So check that out. Link for that is also in the description box. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next week. Oh, next week is Christmas. Merry Christmas, guys. That's going to be a redo episode. I am likely going to repost an episode. So please revisit that episode with fresh ears, the way I was discussing revisiting locations and television this week. All right, y'all. Happy holidays. Bye.